Hi everyone, it's Thursday, you're watching The Rough Cuts, I'm Rob, and today I'm going to review Runaway starring Tom Selleck. So Runaway is a film starring Tom Selleck, 80s legend, from 1984, and Jesus, Tom Selleck, man, you just can't beat him. He's a man's man, he's an action star. And I wish that he'd had a more prolonged career, because he really is of the 80s, but he deserved to have a longer career because unlike a lot of people from the 80s, like Rick Moranis and Martin Short, and even someone who was massive like Steve Guttenberg, who never got out the 80s, Tom Selleck was actually talented, or is actually talented. And that you can look back on his films and yeah, they've got the cheesiness of the 80s, but he can also carry it off. Like, he's a convincing action star as well, and a decent-ish actor. Even though he was an 80s star, I don't think he's defined by the 80s in his style. Whereas a lot of the rest of those people, they really couldn't have made any films in the 90s. I mean, could you imagine Steve Guttenberg popping up in Independence Day or something? Just wouldn't have happened. Well, I guess he was quite big, but he could have been a bigger film star, I think. He could have been an enduring film star, and I think it's a shame that he's not. This sounds like I'm being ironic. I'm not. I genuinely think Tom Selleck's alright. But his best work is his earlier stuff, including this film, Runaway. And, Jesus, it's brilliant. I only saw it the other day, because I was on iTunes, and they were renting it for 99 cents. Worth every penny. I'd just gone to the pictures to see Inception and gave up on it after about 30 minutes because it was so boring. And I came home and I watched this, and Jesus, what a film. So what's the plot of Runaway? Well, Runaway is, imagine iRobot, but with Tom Selleck in the lead and made in 1984, so with no digital effects. It sounds crap, right? Well, it kind of is a little bit, because the robots are shit. They are really shit. I mean, if you watch, a good idea would be to watch iRobot. I mean, if you can stomach it, it's so crap. Watch that and then watch this, and it's just laughable. He's getting all, like, Tom Selleck plays a policeman who's in the Runaway squad, whose job it is to go after robots who go AWOL. And these aren't even like soldier robots. These are robots that work in offices, robots that whose job it is to get bugs that are on crops. So like, these are like pretty menial, crappy little robots. And he's going mental, he's like jumping around with his gun, like, and it's laughable really. But that's the joy of the film, that's the joy of hindsight when it comes to 80s classics. Anyway, so the plot of the film, in so much as there is a plot, is that what is it, like this baddie steals computer chips that can be used to make robots go crazy, but I don't think that's his. How do I get lost in this film? It's not complicated. So what transpires in the film is that there's this main villain, this archetypal super cheesy 80s villain, who's, you know, chewing the scenery, real hammy actor, who's controlling a lot of the robots with this new chip that he's put in them. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, so it's just Tom Selleck chasing after this guy, getting into this sort of like romantic love interest with his new partner, who are flipping brilliant. His new partner gets shot in the arm halfway through the film, and it's not giving too much away, and she is sort of like off duty for the rest of the film, but she's still helping him in an unofficial capacity. So for the second half of the film, she's not wearing her police uniform anymore. She's wearing just her normal clothes. And her normal clothes are just like the cheesiest 80s. Like, she's got this kind of floral, multicoloured dress with massive shoulder pads. And she's got this really horrible wet look blonde perm and loads of blusher, blue eyeshadow. She just looks like an explosion in an 80s factory. That makes no sense. Oh, so who else is in it? The kid from Flight of the Navigator plays his son, which is looking ace. I mean, there's just an 80s legend right there. So when I saw that, that's brilliant. And also in it, playing the police chief is the guy who played Captain Harris in Police Academy. So just these little 80s people are just showing up all over the shop. And I was just really hoping that, you know, Short Round or some other 80s legend would just pop up at some point. Apart from that, there are some genuinely tense moments. Like, so, for instance, Tom Selleck's partner gets shot in the arm, and she's shot with an explosive bullet that doesn't go off. So he has to extract the bullet without it exploding. And, you know, it's the kind of thing that you've seen in loads of films before, you know, ticking clock and all that crap. But it's one of the few times I've seen an actor really look like they're in pain. It seems like the only times that I've ever seen an actor look like they're in pain are things like, what's the Brazilian thing? City of God. You know, where that kid gets shot in the foot. And it's like a 7-year-old kid, and they're not even a real actor. And yet they can genuinely look like they're in pain. But actors, trained actors, seem to be shit at it, you know. Ask someone to pretend they're giving birth, and you will get the worst performance of all time. When Daniel Craig's getting whacked in the balls with that rope, and he's being all macho, like the film just, like Casino Royale lost me at that point, because you can't be macho in the face of that kind of stuff. Anyway, getting off topic. So the actress whose arm he's pulling the bullet out of really pulls it off, so that's kind of a good tense scene, you know, and that would stand up even now, I think. And also towards the end of the film, there's a good bit where Tom Selleck's character he's got vertigo, so he's forced to go to the top of this really tall building. They've done it really brilliantly because he's in the midst of fighting the bad guy, and his partner's there and his son's there, and it's all this, like, you know, he's got to worry about his kid getting injured and stuff. And but when he's on top of this building, it doesn't cut back to anything that's going on below him, which really makes you feel like you're really up there with him. Do you know what I mean? Or it's about his point of view, and he can no longer care about the other characters who are in danger, because he can only care about himself at that point, because he's at the top of this building and he's scared of the heights. The music cuts out and it just gets quiet, and you can just hear the wind. And you know, this wouldn't be remarkable in any other kind of film, really. But the fact that it's an 80s cheese fest, and you're kind of laughing a lot of the way at stuff that you shouldn't really be laughing at, when things like this happen that are genuinely quite tense and well done, it's quite a surprise. Yeah, you should definitely check it out. Get onto iTunes while it's still, you know, on there for $1, and go for it. See if it's still up there for $1 and rent it, because you won't regret it. It's funny, and it's decent as well. You know, it's from the days where, you know, in a kids' film with robots, the lead could still tell people to fuck off, which we need to bring back. You see so many actors now who change their facial hair depending on what role they're in, but Tom Selleck never. If they'd have said to him, okay, Tom, I think the character you're going to play in this film isn't the kind of guy who'd have a big bushy moustache, he'd have just gone, wait a second, I'm out of here. Because you sign up Selleck, you're signing up the moustache. That comes as part of the deal.